This daf is sponsored by Sean Kashani. If you would like to sponsor an Amr or daf, please see the description box below. Thank you for your sponsorship. We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Zayin Amud Beis in Meseches Gittin. This is Gittin Daf 67b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara was discussing a case where a husband tells two people to get a scribe to write the get, and you, the two people, you should sign the get. And the Gemara had a machlokas amoraim among various amoraim, whether that's something that can be done lechatchila. And the Gemara now says, V'ika da'apech lehu, there are those who reverse, and Rashi over here says, V'ika da'apech lehu l'Rabba v'Rav Yosef, there are those who reverse the positions of Rabba and Rav Yosef, meaning to say that on the previous Amud we said according to Rabba, that it is not lechatchila to do this, and according to Rav Yosef it is lechatchila, and there are those who reverse that opinion, again, that according to Rabba it will be lechatchila, and according to Rav Yosef it would not be lechatchila. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Amar le'asara kisvu get, if a person says to 10 people to write a get, and the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Amar li'asara kisvu get utnu l'ishti, if he tells 10 people, write a get and give it to my wife, echad kosev al yedei kulam, one can write it through all of them, and Rashi says that means al yedei kulan b'shvil kulan, meaning one can write it on behalf of all of them. Kulchem ksovu, if he uses the language of kulchem, he says all of you write the get, so echad kosev b'maimad kulam, so in that case one has to write it, but he has to write it in front of all of them. Holichu get le'ishti, if he says, take a get to my wife, echad molech al yedei kulam. So again, one can take it on behalf of all of them, kulchem holichu, but if he says, all of you take it, echad molech b'maimad kulam. So one of them has to take the get, but they should all go together with him. As Rashi says, molech b'maimad kulam, he has to take it in front of all of them, kulan yelchu imo, they all have to go with him. And the Gemara continues, Iboy Lahu, they had the following question, Mona Osan Mahu, if you enumerated them, meaning he listed all of them individually by name, so what's the halach? Is that the same as Kulchem or not? Rav Huna Amar Mona Eino Kekulchem, Rav Huna says that if he lists them by name, it's not like Kulchem. Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Elazar de bin Roma Amar, Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Elazar from Rome said, Mona Hareo Kekulchem, if he lists them, it is the same as Kulchem. Amar Rapapa says, Velo Pligi, they're not really arguing. Had Mona Kulu, it depends if he's listing all of them, V'had Mona Mixasaya, or if he's listing some of them, Amri La Lahaigisa, V'amri La Lahaigisa, and people say in different directions. Some say that if he lists all of them, that's like Kulchem, and some say that it's if he lists some of them, that's the one that's like Kulchem. And the Gemara continues asking Rav Yehuda Begita de Kulchem. Rav Yehuda instituted by a get where the instructions are given in front of a large group of people that the husband should say as follows: Ksovu o Kulchon o Kalchad v'chad minchon. Write it, either all of you or one from among you. Chasomu o Kulchon o Kaltrei minchon. Sign it, either all of you or two from among you. O Vilu, deliver it, o Kulchon o Kalchad v'chad minchon. Either all of you or one from among you. And if he formulates it in this fashion, so if not everyone participates, it's still going to be kosher. Amar Rava said to this, sometimes the husband, when he's giving this instruction, he's going to shorten his statement. He's not going to say everything. V'yomar kulchon, maybe he'll say the phrase kulchon, all of you. V'lo amar kol chad minchon, and he won't say one from among you. And he won't give that other option. V'yasi lifsule, and that's going to cause a psul, that's going to cause a disqualification. As Rashi says, and again, maybe one of them won't be there when they're writing it, or maybe they're not all going to sign, so this is going to create more problems. Rather Rava says, he should say it in a shorter fashion. He should say, write it, one from among you, sign it, two from among you, deliver it, one from among you. And if he says it in that fashion, again, it's not going to come to a situation where it will be disqualified. Hadron alacha omer, we will return to you. Peraka omer, this is the end of the 6th parak of Meseches Gitin. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. And take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And we will now begin the 7th parak of Meseches Gitin. And the parak begins with the Mishnah, Misha Achzu Kordiakos. Rashi explains, Misha Achzu Kordiakos Shem Sheda HaSholetes Kishashosa Yayin Harbi Migito. It's the name of a shade, and this shade rules over a person when the person drinks a lot of fresh wine from the wine press. And so a person has this kordiakos, and therefore he's not able to think clearly. V'yamar, and he says, Kisvu get le'ishti, write a get for my wife. Lo amar klum, he hasn't said anything. As Rashi says, Lo amar klum shein daitu miyosheves, again his mind is not settled, and therefore his instruction is not considered an instruction that has any ramifications. Amar kisvu get le'ishti. Now let's say he says, write a get for my wife, v'achsu kordiakos, and then at that point in time, he's grabbed by kordiakos. V'chazar v'yamar lo tichtavenu, and then he says not to write the get. So ein devarav ha'achronim klum. So there, the last thing that he said is nothing, because again, he said it while he was held by kordiakos. Nishtatek, if he's quiet, v'amrulo, and they say to him, it means to say he's quiet, he's a mute. He's not able to speak, and they say to him, Nichtov get l'ishtecha, they say, should we write a get for your wife? V'hirchin barosho, and he nods with his head. Bodkino so shlosh apam, we check him 3 times. Imamar alav lav yal hein hein, if he answers to questions that should be no, he answers properly no, he indicates no, and on things that should be yes, he indicates yes. So then it shows that he understands what he's indicating. So in such a situation, they write and they give the get. And the Gemara says, "My kordiakos." What is kordiakos? Amar Shmuel. Shmuel says, that he's bitten, so to speak, by fresh wine from the wine press, as we explained. And the Gemara says, "V'lisni mishen nashcho yain chadash." Why doesn't it just say that? Why doesn't it say someone that is bitten by new wine? He consumes too much new wine. And the Gemara says to that, "Hakamash malan." This is teaching us the harucha kordiakos shema, that this spirit, as we said, this shade, the name of that shade is kordiakos. L'may nafkamina, what difference does it make? L'kmiya, the difference it makes is in terms of an amulet. If you're going to write an amulet in order to heal the person, so you need to know the name of the shade. And the Gemara continues, Maya Asuse, in what fashion do we heal kordiakos? And the Gemara says, Bisra sumka gumri, it's red meat on coals, v'chamra marka, and wine that is very diluted. And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Amrali aim, my mother told me, L'shimsha bas yuma, if a person has a fever for a day, so the remedy is kuza demaya, to drink a jug of water. Bas tre yuma, if he has fever for 2 days, sikure, the remedy is bloodletting. Bas tlasa yuma, if he has a fever for 3 days, bisra sumka gumre v'chamra merka, the remedy is red meat on coals and diluted wine. And the Gemara continues, L'shimsha atikta, for a fever that is longer than 3 days, for an old fever, Lesi tarnagolta uchmasi, should bring a black hen, v'likre, shasiv arev, and he should tear it lengthwise and widthwise. V'lagalche l'mitziyasa dereshi, he should shave the middle of his head. V'losve lave, he should put the hen on top of his head. V'nanche lave ad demisrach, and he should put it onto his head until it adheres to his head. V'linchos v'leikum b'mayat savari, then he should go into water up to his neck, ad cholish almei lave, until he feels faint. V'leimud, then he should submerge himself in the water. V'lislik, then come out of the water. V'leisav, and he should sit and rest. V'ilon, if he can't do that, leichol karti, he should eat leeks. V'linchos v'leikum b'mayat savari, again he should go into water up until his neck. Adecholish almei lave, until he feels faint. V'leimud, v'lislik, v'leisav, and then he should submerge himself in the water and emerge from the water, and he should sit and rest. And the Gemara continues, L'shimsha, for fever, bisra sumka gumri v'chamra merka, again, it's red meat on coals and diluted wine. And l'salg, if someone has chills, so it's the opposite, bisra shmeina gumri, it's fatty meat on coals, v'chamra chaya, and wine that is not diluted. And the Gemara continues, Rav Amram Chasida, Rav Amram the pious, Kiav Mitzarin le Bei Reish Galusa, when the house of the exilarch of the Reish Galusa, when they would bother him, have a Magani le Atalga, so they would make him sleep in the snow. Lamachar, so the next day, Amrule, they said to him, Ma'inicha le Lamar, to Laisule, what does the master want that we should bring him to eat? Amar, he said, Hani called the Amina luhu mepach afchi. Whatever I tell the servants of the Reish Galusa, they're going to do the exact opposite. So Amar luhu, so he said to them, Bisra sumka gumre, I want red meat on coals, v'chamra merka, and diluted wine. And so they did the opposite, Aisule inhu, so they brought him Bisra shmeina agumre, they brought him fatty meat on coals, v'chamra chaya, and they brought him undiluted wine, and that's exactly what he needed for this situation of chills. And the Gemara continues, Shama Yalsu ma'ayla le'levei masusa. Yalsa heard about this. Yalsa was the wife of Rav Nachman, and so she brought him to the bathhouse. Umukmi le b'maya devei masusa, de mahafchi maya devei masusa, v'havidamani. She put him in the water of the bathhouse until the water of the bathhouse changed colors. It was like the color of blood. V'koi bisrei pshite pshite, and then there were spots on his skin that looked like coins. And Rashi explains, the Yalsa, Eshes Rav Nachman, Yalsa was the wife of Rav Nachman, V'hi Basa Nasi, she was the daughter of the Nasi, V'Eshes Abbezin, she was also the wife of the Abbezin of Rav Nachman, V'Chashuva, so she was an important person. Kenamrin Bahor V'Arotiv de Rav Nachman Chasna Devei Nasi Have, like we say in Chulin, Rav Nachman was the son-in-law of the house of the Nasi. And the Gemara continues, Rav Yosef Yasik B'Reichai, Rav Yosef, when he had the chills, he would work with the millstone in order to warm himself up. Rav Sheshes Yasik B'Kashure, Rav Sheshes, he would work with the beams, he would lift the beams. Amar, and he said, Gedola Melacha Shemechamemes Es Ba'aleh, work is great because it makes the person who's doing the work, it warms him up. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Reish Galusa le Rav Sheshes, the Reish Galusa, the head of the exile, said to Rav Sheshes, My time alo soid mar gabon, why doesn't the master eat with us? Amar Lei said to him, it's because the servants of the Reish Galusa, they're not good people, they're suspect of serving Avram and Achai, of limbs from living animals, which is not kosher. Amar Lei said to him, Miyemar, who says that's the case? Amar Lei said back to him, Hashta machvinolach, I'll show you that this is exactly what they do. So Amar Lei l'shamei, so Rav Shesha said to his servant, his attendant, Zil genov, go steal, Aisi lichodakara mechiyusa, go steal one of the legs, one of the limbs from the animal. Aisi lei, so he brought it to him. And the Gemara continues, Amar lahu, Rav Shesha said to the servants of the Reish Galusa, Ahadmuli hadmi dechiyusa, lay out for me the sections, the portions of the animal. Aisu talos kare, they brought 3 of the legs. Osivu kameh, and they put it in front of him. Amar Lui said to them, Habalas shalosh raglayim, have this animal only had 3 legs. Psok, so they cut a leg off another animal, Avram and Achai. Aisu chadamei alma, they brought this one leg from some other animal. Osivu kameh, and they put it in front of him. Amar Lei l'shamei, so then he said to his attendant, meaning Rav Shesha said to his attendant, Osvei nami lahachdidach, go put your leg that you have added over here. Osvei, he set that down. Amar Lui said to them, Hai bas chomesh raglayim havis, so this animal has 5 legs. In other words, he showed that they were suspect over Avram and Achai. And the Gemara continues, Amar Lei, the Reish Galusa said to Rav Shesha, Siyochi, if so, liavdu kame shami demar v'leichu, let's prepare the food in front of the master's attendant, and then he'll be able to eat. The idea over here is that Rav Shesha was blind, and so the attendant would watch over everything and make sure that everything was kosher. Amar Lei, so Rav Shesha said to him, Lachai, let it be. In other words, we'll do that solution, and that way I'll be able to eat. Krivu toka kamayo, they brought the table out in front of them. V'aisu kamei bisra, and they brought in front of him meat. V'osivu kamei ristuna dechinka chamton, they brought a small piece of meat with a small bone in it that would cause someone to choke. And again, the idea is that the servants of the Reish Galusa were hoping that Rav Shesha, who was blind, would choke on the bone. Gashashe v'shakle, so he felt the meat, and he was able to feel that there was a bone. Karcha b'sudre, he wrapped it up in his handkerchief, in his scarf. Levaser da'achil, after he ate, Amri lei, they said to him, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Ches Amud Aleph.